WWE WrestleMania 38 Night 2 results April 3, 2022 Night 2 of WWE WrestleMania 38 opens up live from AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas. Mike Rome introduces singer Jesse James Decker for the America the Beautiful performance. Decker finishes up as the fireworks explode in the stadium. We cut to the opening video package, which starts with highlights from Night 1. Mark Wahlberg appears and will narrate this video like he did on WrestleMania Saturday. Wahlberg says the sequel usually isn't as good as the first, but this will be one of those rare moments. Wahlberg goes on and says that's it for the previews, it's time for the main show, and this sequel isn't edge of your seat, it's out of your seat. He welcomes us back to the most stupendous two-night event in history, to WrestleMania Sunday. We're live from AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas as Jimmy Smith welcomes us to ringside. He says we're still recovering from Night 1. Smith is joined at ringside by Corey Graves and Byron Saxton. We go right to the ring and out comes WWE Hall of Famer Triple H as the music hits and fans pop big time. The Game, in a suit, marches to the ring and does his signature pose on the apron. The Game has a lengthy entrance as he takes it all in. The music stops and fans chant his name. They chant "Thank you Hunter" next and he acknowledges them in a show of respect. Triple H says he just wanted to come out and say thank you, and to show us his love in the best way he knows how. Welcome to WrestleMania. The pyro explodes on the stage and fireworks go off as the music hits and fans pop. Triple H leaves his boots in the ring as a symbol of his retirement. He exits the ring and hugs his family at ringside, then heads to the back. Mike Rome introduces Gable Steveson, who is sitting at ringside. Gable raises his hand to the crowd and thanks them. Triple threat for the Raw Tag Team titles, the Street Profits vs Alpha Academy vs RK Bro. We go back to the ring and out first for the opener are Raw Tag Team Champions RK Bro, Randy Orton and Riddle. They hit the ring as a quick pyro explosion goes off. Out next are the Street Profits, Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins. The red solo cups fall on the stage as they head to the ring. Alpha Academy is out last, Otis and Chad Gable. They hit the ring and here we go. The bell rings and Gable gets slapped by Ford, then kicked by Riddle for a 1 count. Ford and Riddle go at it and Ford levels him. Gable with a German suplex to Ford for a 2 count as Riddle breaks it up with a Broughton. Dawkins and Orton come in but they get tossed out. Ford sends Ford out. Otis sends Ford out. Otis is alone now as he poses. All 6 superstars hit the ring and brawl now. It comes down to Gable and Ford. Ford runs at Gable in the corner but instead he leaps over the ring post and splashes everyone else who were on the floor near the timekeeper's area. Gable goes up top and nails a moonsault onto the other 5 superstars at ringside now. Otis and Gable double team Riddle now and Otis drops him on his head. Otis with a short arm clothesline to Riddle now. Otis yells out and nails another clothesline to Riddle. Otis with the splash in the middle of the ring but he doesn't cover, instead he slaps Riddle around. Otis with another scoop slam. Otis continues to manhandle Riddle in the middle of the ring. Gable tags in for a Northern Lights suplex for a 2 count on Riddle. Gable keeps control of Riddle until Ford comes back in with a big dropkick. Gable turns it back around for a few minutes. Dawkins tags in and unloads on Gable and Riddle with big power moves, launching them around the ring. Gable covers Riddle but Otis breaks it up with a big splash. More back and forth with Riddle being dominated by the others. Orton finally tags in as fans pop. Orton unloads on Ford with his signature moves as fans go wild. Orton goes for the draping DDT to Ford but Ford slides to the floor. Orton blocks a shot into the announce table and sends Ford into it, then he slams Ford on top of the announce table. Gable approaches but Orton slams him on top of the announce table as well. Orton returns to the ring and grabs Ford for a draping DDT. Riddle does the same with Dawkins and fans pop as they hit a double draping DDT to the Profits. RK Bro plays to the crowd for another big pop. They both drop down to prepare for the RKO, but Otis and Gable pull them to the floor and send them to the barrier for boos. Otis comes in and levels Dawkins, then puts Ford on his shoulders. Gable with a big Steiner Bulldog from the top to send Ford off Otis' shoulders, but Ford kicks out just in time. Otis tries for a Vader bomb to Ford, but Riddle and Dawkins shove him to the floor. Riddle gets sent to the floor by Gable. The Profits double team Gable now and they hit a huge super blockbuster to send Gable off Dawkins' shoulders. Gable somehow kicks out. Fans chant, "This is awesome, now." Ford knocks Riddle off the apron and Otis catches him, but tosses him to the floor. Dawkins with a big sky high to Orton. Dawkins runs the ropes and leaps out to Otis. Ford tags in and goes to the top to fly onto Orton, but Riddle springboards up and nails a huge RKO to Ford from the top rope. Fans pop big time. Ford rolls to the floor to avoid the pin. Orton catches Gable with a huge RKO in the middle of the ring for the pin to win and retain. Winners, RK Bro. After the match, Orton and Riddle celebrate as the music hits and fans cheer them on. We go to replays. The Profits come into the ring and meet the champs in the middle, with red solo cups. They give RK Bro 2 drinks for a toast, but they stop and invite Gable Steveson into the ring. Gable enters and he also takes a red solo cup. The Profits, RK Bro, and Gable have a WrestleMania toast, but Chad comes in and smacks Steveson's drink out of his hand. Steveson takes his shirt off as the others empty the ring. Chad tells Steveson to shoosh when in his presence, but Steveson launches him with a big belly-to-belly throw. Steveson is fired up now as the Profits and RK Bro cheer him on from ringside. We go to replays. Steveson exits the ring and finally the babyfaces get to have their red solo cup WrestleMania toast. Omos vs Bobby Lashley back from a break, and out comes Omos as we get a video on what led to this match. Omos marches to the ring and steps over the ropes. Out next comes Bobby Lashley to a pop. Lashley hits the corner to pose as pyro goes off. The bell rings and they stare each other down. Lashley kicks, but Omos catches it and sends him to the mat with one shot. Omos clubs Lashley in the back of the head. Lashley mounts some offense and goes for the big suplex, but Omos fights him off. Omos with more big strikes. Omos manhandles Lashley by his head in the middle of the ring until Lashley suddenly powers out. Omos quickly takes back control and clubs him to the mat. Lashley slaps Omos, but that just angers him. Omos unloads and splashes Lashley down in the corner. Omos charges again, but Lashley trips him into the turnbuckles, and again. Lashley goes for the Hurt Lock in the middle of the ring, but Omos easily powers out and drops Lashley to the mat. Omos yells at Lashley to get back up. Omos grabs him and shoves him over the top rope to the floor with ease. Lashley meets Omos on the apron and stuns him. They bring it in and Lashley leaps off the second rope with a crossbody, but Omos catches him in mid-air, puts him on his shoulders and then launches the veteran to the mat. Omos charges but runs into an elbow. Omos catches Lashley with a bear hug now. Omos rams Lashley back into the turnbuckles and the back of his head hits the ring post. Omos with another bear hug now, and Graves says Lashley appears to be knocked out on his feet from the turnbuckle spot. Omos tightens the hug but Lashley fights out. Lashley attacks with big right hands, then sends Omos into the corner. Lashley with a kick to the gut. Lashley goes for the big suplex again but Omos fights out. Lashley counters and tries again, this time he gets the suplex over but just barely off the mat. Lashley is fired up now as fans cheer him on. Lashley with a big spear, and another. Lashley covers for the pin to win. Winner, Bobby Lashley. After the match, Lashley stands tall as the music hits and the referee raises his arm. We go to replays. Back from a break and Michael Cole is on commentary now. He welcomes us and is joined by Pat McAfee. We get a video package for the next match. Anything goes match, Sami Zayn vs Johnny Knoxville. We go back to the ring and out comes Sami Zayn. Jackass star Johnny Knoxville is out next and he stops to greet some other Jackass crew members at ringside. The bell rings and Sami immediately nails a hell of a kick. Sami drags Knoxville to the floor and sends him into the barrier. Sami keeps control and has words with the Jackass crew. Sami turns around to Knoxville spraying a fire extinguisher at him. Knoxville brings a stop sign and a trash can full of weapons into the ring, but Sami kicks him before he can use them. Sami rolls Knoxville into the ring and dumps the trash can out. Sami grabs a sheet pan and smacks Knoxville over the back with it. Sami keeps control for a 2 count. Sami goes to ringside and pulls a table out, but it's covered in mouse traps and one catches him. Sami says Knoxville is in trouble for bringing this. Sami comes back in, but Knoxville smashes him with 2 trash can lids. Knoxville continues to beat Sami with the lids, then he smashes a stop sign over his back. Knoxville leans a table in the corner now. He tries to suplex Sami through it, but it's blocked. Sami launches Knoxville through the table with a big exploder suplex. Sami drags Knoxville back over for a close 2 count. Sami goes for another hell of a kick, but Knoxville stops him with a loud air horn. Sami looks to capitalize, but party boy Chris Pontius enters the ring, dancing around and taunting Sami. Pontius snatches his suit off and he's only wearing a thong now. He rubs himself all over Sami until Sami levels him and starts stomping as fans boo. Sami grabs Pontius and tosses him out of the ring. Knoxville takes advantage and rolls Sami up from behind for a close 2 count. Sami drops Knoxville with another right hand. Wee Man attacks Sami at ringside for a big pop. Wee Man unloads with punches and chases Sami in the ring. The crowd goes wild for Wee Man. He hits Sami in the knee, then scoop slams him for a huge pop. Knoxville with a tornado DDT from the corner for another close 2 count. Sami goes on and collapses Wee Man with a hell of a kick for huge boos from the crowd. Sami beats Wee Man up some more and then mounts Knoxville. Fans chant "asshole" now. Sami is all smiles as he goes to the top, but Knoxville makes Pyro shoot up from the ring post. Sami is down in the corner now. Knoxville grabs a bowling ball and rolls it right between Sami's legs. Cole calls that a ballsy move. There's a leg and boot attached to a device and Knoxville makes that kick Sami below the belt for another low blow. Knoxville grabs a taser now, but Sami retreats to the floor, crawling around at ringside. Sami runs away, but the huge smack hand from one of the Jackass movies levels him, knocking him down. Sami brings it back in and he stomps on Knoxville. Sami with a suplex in the middle of the ring. Sami goes back to the top, but Knoxville uses a pair of tongs below the belt. Sami is stunned on top as Knoxville grabs him and launches him to the floor, through the mousetrap table. The Jackass crew helps Knoxville bring a gigantic mousetrap into the ring now. They roll Sami back in and Knoxville is waiting. Sami stumbles around and gets hit with the taser by Knoxville. He falls on the mousetrap and is laid out. Knoxville has trouble unhooking the mousetrap and it partially hits him, but it hits Sami harder and traps him under the trap for the pin to win. Winner, Johnny Knoxville. After the match, the Jackass music hits as Knoxville and his crew celebrate. Sami is still trapped in the huge mousetrap, throwing a fit. We go to replays. The Jackass guys head up the ramp, leaving Sami trapped in the mousetrap. Back from the break and the announcers hype the main event as we see Brock Lesnar's locker room door. Fatal 4-way for the WWE Women's Tag Team titles, Shayna Baszler and Natalya vs Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley vs Naomi and Sasha Banks vs Carmella and Queen Zelina Vega. We go back to the ring for the women's Fatal 4-way and out first are Naomi and Sasha Banks. Naomi comes out first, but a neon green Ferrari, or a Lamborghini, comes driving out to the stage next. Banks is driving the car. Naomi hops in and they drive it a few feet before getting out and walking down the ramp. Banks and Naomi pose on the stage as pyro goes off. Out next comes Liv Morgan, apparently dressed like Catwoman. Rhea Ripley is out next and pyro explodes as she does her big stomp. Ripley is dressed like Morgan. Shayna Baszler and Natalya are out together. Out next are WWE Women's Tag Team Champions Carmella and Queen Zelina Vega. Graves goes on about the dirty celebration he has planned for this. The bell rings and Carmella gets her face mask on. Graves wishes her good luck. Ripley starts off with Vega but she tells Carmella to come in instead. Carmella sizes Ripley up but tags in Banks. Fans pop as Banks and Ripley face off for a test of strength. Ripley immediately takes Banks down for a 2 count. They trade counters on the mat. Banks tries to take Ripley down into the bank statement. It's blocked but Banks blocks the riptide. Ripley blocks the backstabber. They have words now as Banks gets up from the mat. Liv tags in now. The champs pulls Ripley off the apron and beat her down. Liv leaps out of the ring at one side, taking the champs down, while Banks leaps out the other side and takes Basler and Natalya down, who were assaulting Naomi. Liv and Banks go at it in the ring now. Liv with double knees to the jaw after Banks works her over. Natalya tags herself in as Liv nails Oblivion to Banks. Natalya with the running kick to the back of Liv's head, then the kick to the face. Basler comes in and levels Liv with a shot to the jaw. Basler makes the champs put their brakes on as they try to come in and stop her pin. Basler starts stomping on Liv's ankle now. Liv screams out in pain. Basler with a submission to Liv's foot and leg now, making her scream out. Liv drops Basler with an enziguri but Basler runs over her with a clothesline. Carmella tags herself in and yells at Basler to get out. Carmella takes Liv to the corner and works her over. Vega tags in for the double team. Vega with code red to Liv but Ripley makes the save. Everyone comes in trading their finishing moves now. Carmella tries to bring Ripley from the top with a Hurricane Rana but Ripley overpowers with a powerbomb attempt. Carmella blocks that and still hits her Hurricane Rana. Vega leaps out to take Ripley down on the floor. Banks and Naomi double team Liv now. Vega and Basler double team Naomi in one corner for a superplex while Carmella and Natalya try for the same double superplex to Banks in the opposite corner. However, Liv and Ripley each go to one of the corners and bring the other two groups to the mat with the double collapsing towers. Naomi covers Liv for 2. Liv and Ripley double team Naomi. They hit a double team riptide, backstabber combo for a 2 count but Banks makes the save. Basler tosses Banks to the floor. Natalya sends Ripley into the ring post. Basler and Natalya double team Naomi for a 2 count as Liv breaks it up. Basler decks Liv and slams her with an inverted side slam. Natalya and Basler go for a heart attack to Naomi but the champs break it up. Carmella drops Natalya with a super kick. Naomi and the champs trade shots now. Carmella decks Naomi for a close 2 count. Graves and Carmella can't believe it. Carmella with another quick 2 count to Naomi. Carmella throws a fit now. Naomi with a big kick to Carmella's face. Banks goes to the top and hits a frog splash to Carmella for another close 2 count. Banks with the bank statement to Carmella but Vega pulls Carmella out of the ring to safety. Banks with a meteora off the apron to Vega. Carmella brings Banks back into the ring but Banks counters. Naomi tags in and kicks Carmella. Banks and Naomi with a big double team to Carmella in the middle of the ring for the pin to win the titles. Winners and new WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, Sasha Banks and Naomi. After the match, Banks and Naomi stand tall as the music hits. We go to replays. Banks and Naomi celebrate with the titles as fans cheer them on. Back from a break and we see some of the NFL's Dallas Cowboys at ringside. We get a video package for the next match. WWE Hall of Famer Edge vs AJ Styles. We go back to the ring and out first comes AJ Styles to a pop. AJ was apparently busted open by his own pyro during his entrance. WWE Hall of Famer Edge is out next, stepping down from a platform as flames rise up. More flames and pyro shoot up as he marches to the ring. The bell rings and fans pop as they face off. AJ immediately rushes Edge into the corner. Edge leans in the ropes with a smirk on his face and the referee backs AJ off. They lock up and AJ takes it to the corner but backs off and Edge retreats from a wild swing. They go at it and run the ropes now. AJ nails a big drop kick for a pop, then a pair of arm drags. Edge drops him to block a third arm drag. They size each other up again as fans do dueling chants. More back and forth now. AJ with a sliding knee to the head from the apron to Edge on the floor. Edge gets sent into the steel ring steps as well. AJ slows the match down and brings it back in. He goes for the springboard 450 from the apron, but Edge gets his knees up and AJ lands hard. AJ is down in the corner as Edge stomps away while the referee warns him. Edge with big knee strikes to the gut. Edge launches Edge into the turnbuckles gut first and he goes down but still kicks out. AJ with big chops, but Edge catches him in an abdominal stretch in the middle of the ring. AJ turns it around with a dragon screw leg whip and Edge goes down. Edge scoops AJ for a shoulder breaker, but Edge also hurts himself and they're both down now. Edge stomps away in the corner now. Edge kicks AJ in the ribs and continues to focus on his midsection as the referee warns him. AJ with another wild swing, but this time he drops Edge. AJ charges, but Edge lured him in as he moves and sends AJ face first into the turnbuckles. AJ mounts a comeback now, but he and Edge are both moving slow. AJ mounts Edge with right hands. AJ unloads with lefts and rights while still on top of Edge. Fans start rallying for AJ, but Edge drops him into an armbar with the injured arm. Edge grounds AJ with his arm behind his back, and a knee to the spine now. AJ gets to his feet and fights out of the hold. Edge dodges a Pele kick. AJ blocks a crossface. Edge blocks a Styles Clash and goes into the STF. AJ reaches for the bottom rope, but Edge pulls the arm back. AJ swings his leg around to the bottom rope and the hold is broken. AJ is on the apron now. He launches himself over the top rope into a big DDT and Edge goes down. AJ slowly climbs to the top as fans cheer him on. Edge gets up and cuts him off. Edge climbs up for the superplex, but AJ fights back. AJ slides down, kicks Edge's knee from behind, then scoops Edge onto his shoulders for a torture rack. AJ slams Edge into the mat from his shoulders with a rack bomb, but Edge kicks out just in time. Edge avoids another rack bomb and drops AJ with a big DDT for a 2 count. More back and forth. AJ with a snap German suplex and they're both down once again. They fight to their knees and trade big strikes. They continue swinging and get to their feet. AJ with a series of headbutts, punches and then a big Pele kick. Edge is still up but barely. AJ rolls Edge into the calf crusher. Edge counters for the armbar, but AJ resists. Edge blocks and applies the LE Bell lock. AJ reaches for the bottom rope and pries Edge's fingers. The hold is finally broken. More back and forth. Edge with a big education for a close 2 count. They tangle in the corner some more and Edge uses the top rope for a springboard sit-out powerbomb. AJ still kicks out just in time. They tangle up top and in the corner again. AJ finally manages to hit a superplex to the edge of the apron. They both hit hard and fall to the floor. They barely make it back in at the 9 count. AJ with the springboard 450 from the apron, landing on Edge's back. AJ rolls Edge over for the pin, but Edge barely kicks out in time. More back and forth now. AJ finally hits the Styles Clash on the 3rd attempt. He covers for the pin, but Edge barely kicks out. AJ and the fans in attendance can't believe it. AJ goes back to the apron for the phenomenal forearm, but Damian Priest appears at ringside. AJ is briefly distracted, but he still springboards in for the Styles Clash, but Edge knocks him out of the air with a big spear. Edge covers for the pin to win. Winner, Edge. After the match, the music hits as Edge recovers, looking over at Priest but confused. Priest enters the ring as we go to replays. Priest enters the ring and drops to one knee. Edge faces him, also on one knee. They both let out a sinister laugh, then stand tall together and raise their arms in the middle of the ring. We go to another replay and come back to Edge and Priest leaving together. Mike Rome announces attendance as 78,453. Back from a break and we get a video for the next match. Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods vs Ridge Holland and Sheamus. We go back to the ring and out first comes Ridge Holland and Sheamus with Butch. The New Day's Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods are out next. Woods and Kofi are wearing ring gear inspired by Big E. Butch is tearing stuff up at ringside. The camera goes back to the ring and the two teams start brawling. Sheamus gets dumped to the floor by Woods. Holland dumps Woods to the floor. Holland yells at the referee to ring the bell. He charges Kofi but Kofi ducks and hits Trouble in Paradise for the pin but Sheamus pulls him to safety on the floor. Butch is trying to attack Kofi but Sheamus holds him back. Woods kicks Sheamus through the ropes. Butch keeps trying to interfere and Sheamus keeps trying to calm him down. Holland is getting double teamed in the ring now. Woods drops the straps like Big E for a pop. He levels Holland. Sheamus ends up dropping Kofi on the floor with a brogue kick. Holland attacks Woods but Woods super kicks him. Butch distracts the referee from the apron, allowing Sheamus to level Woods with a brogue out of nowhere. Holland scoops Woods for Northern Grid for the pin to get the quick win. Winners, Sheamus and Ridge Holland. After the match, Butch rushes the ring and attacks Woods, yanking at his braids until Sheamus and Holland hold him back. The music starts back up as the Fight Night group stands tall. Back from a break and it's time to honor the 2022 WWE Hall of Famers again. This is shorter than the segment that took place on night 1. The lights go low and the bells toll as The Undertaker makes his way to the stage for a big pop. The music stops and Taker takes the standing ovation in as fans continue to applaud. The music starts back up and Taker waves to the crowd, then turns and makes his exit, stopping to look back and raise his fist in the air. Back from a break and we get a promo for Peacock's hit show Yellowstone, and we see Yellowstone actor Jefferson White sitting at ringside. We get a video package for the next match. Austin Theory vs Pat McAfee. We go back to the ring and out comes WWE Chairman and CEO Vince McMahon. Fans pop big as Vince struts down the ramp and into the ring. Vince takes the mic and says allow him to introduce to us, a future WWE Universal Champion, Austin Theory. Some fans boo but the music hits and out comes Theory. Theory takes selfies while walking down the ramp. He enters the ring as fans chant "You suck, now." Theory stands with Vince and takes a selfie with him as the boos continue. Vince exits the ring and out comes Pat McAfee to a big pop. The world-famous Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders come out to dance first while the White Stripes 7 Nation Army plays. McAfee then appears as the cheerleaders open up a walkway. McAfee struts down the ramp with the cheerleaders as fans cheer him on. The bell rings and McAfee quickly stuns Theory. McAfee unloads and drops Theory with big right hands as Vince looks on from ringside. Theory turns around and works McAfee over, dropping him in the corner. Theory looks at Vince and he's all smiles in his chair at ringside. McAfee with a big spinning elbow from nowhere to drop Theory as Cole and Saxton cheer him on. McAfee with a big Hurricane Rana for a 2 count and a big pop. McAfee wastes some time and Theory drops him, puts a knee to the back and yells out to more boos. Fans start singing McAfee's 7 Nation Army entrance song again as Theory works him over, keeping control and wasting some time to show off. Theory with 2 suplexes as fans chant "You suck, again." Theory jogs around the ring, taunting the crowd. McAfee counters Theory with a suplex of his own for a pop. McAfee charges and knocks Theory off the apron, sending him into the announce table in front of an angry Vince. McAfee exits the ring and puts on a headset to brag on commentary about how he's beating the hell out of a douchebag. McAfee tosses some water in Theory's face as payback for Friday, then slams his face into the announce table a few times. Vince seethes as McAfee brings it back in the ring. McAfee goes to the top and looks out at the crowd as they hum his entrance theme again. McAfee wastes some time but leaps for the Swanton Bomb and misses as Theory moves. Vince smiles now. Theory slams McAfee for a close 2 count. Theory shows some frustration to the referee now. Theory stomps on McAfee. Theory tells Vince to watch what happens when he goes to the top now. Theory climbs up as fans boo him. McAfee jumps up and rocks Theory with the right hand, stunning Theory. McAfee climbs up for a superplex but Theory fights back. Theory shoves McAfee to the mat but he does a backflip and lands on his feet. Theory is shocked. McAfee leaps back to the top with one jump, then he hits the superplex for a big pop. McAfee crawls over for the pin but Theory kicks out just in time. McAfee stands tall and hulks up. He goes for the punt kick but Theory dodges it, then takes McAfee down by his knees. Theory with another shot. Theory looks out at Vince for more encouragement. Theory mounts McAfee with right hands. Theory talks trash in McAfee's face but McAfee is defiant. Theory goes for the ATL but McAfee counters and rolls him up for the pin to win. Winner, Pat McAfee. After the match, Cole goes crazy on commentary as McAfee stands tall. The music hits and fans pop big time for him. McAfee hits the corner to pose as fans cheer him on. Theory sits up against the barrier, bummed out. Vince walks over and has some words with Theory, pointing up at McAfee, who is still celebrating. McAfee looks down at Vince and Theory from the corner. The music stops and McAfee apparently called Vince out. Vince has some words with McAfee but we can't really hear what they're saying. Some fans boo as it looks like Vince is walking away. Vince stops and takes his coat off for a big pop. Vince undoes his tie and his shirt as McAfee invites him in the ring. Cole and Saxton are begging McAfee to apologize. Vince takes off his button-up to reveal a tank top and fans pop big time. Vince enters the ring and there's a referee now. Vince McMahon vs Pat McAfee. The referee meets Vince McMahon and Pat McAfee in the middle of the ring. Vince is jacked. Vince backs up and taunts McAfee, but that just allows Austin Theory to drop McAfee from behind. Theory exits the ring but Vince is still there. The bell rings and Vince clotheslines McAfee. Vince sends Theory into the turnbuckles now. Vince tells McAfee to bring it and McAfee charges but Vince clotheslines him. Fans chant "You still got it," as Vince continues to take his time. He manhandles McAfee some, yells in his face and launches him face first into the turnbuckles. The crowd rallies for McAfee as he gets back to his feet. They stare each other down from the corners. McAfee goes to charge but Theory trips him from behind on the floor, then yanks him into the ring post below the belt. Vince continues to toy around with McAfee. Theory hops on the apron and brings a Dallas Cowboys football to the chairman. Vince takes the football and acts like he's going to punt it into the crowd but he stops. He does this to the other side of the crowd and now they boo him. Vince finally punts the ball into McAfee's chest for the pin to win. Winner, Mr. McMahon. After the match, Vince stands tall as No Chance starts back up. Theory kicks McAfee out of the ring. Vince stands tall as the music stops and Cole checks on McAfee. Theory hits the corners to pose as Vince looks on, motioning for him to keep posing in the other corners. Theory opens his arms for a hug from Vince now. Vince opens his arms and they embrace in the middle of the ring. Vince raises Theory's arm in victory as Theory's music starts back up. Vince looked a little surprised by Theory's music. They continue celebrating until the glass breaks and AT&T Stadium explodes. WWE Hall of Famer Steve Austin marches to the ring as Austin and Theory look on, terrified. Austin enters and has a few words with Vince. It looks like Vince is trying to sell Theory to Austin. Theory attacks but Austin unloads on him with punches, then a stone cold stunner, sending Theory out to the floor. Vince and Austin are in the middle of the ring now as fans go wild. Vince looks to start pleading with his former rival. Austin talks Vince into having a beer with him. Austin catches 2 beers and hands one to Vince. Vince is cautious as he takes a small sip but he seems to enjoy the beer. They then have a toast and start chugging as fans cheer them on. Austin kicks Vince for the stone cold stunner but Vince stumbles a few steps back against the ropes. Austin grabs him and finishes the stunner. Austin's music starts back up as he continues a beer bash in the corner. McAfee cheers Austin on from ringside. Vince is still flat on his back as Austin comes over and stomps a few times, kicking him out of the ring. Austin invites McAfee into the ring and the crowd pops again. Austin gives 2 beers to McAfee and they begin another beer bash as the glass breaks again. The beers keep coming as McAfee and Stone Cold continue. Austin suddenly drops McAfee with a Stone Cold Stunner out of nowhere. Austin tosses the football and catches a few more beers as the celebration continues. We see McAfee flat on his back, but still chugging beer. Austin exits the ring, comes back in for one more wave to the crowd, and then marches up the ramp. Austin turns and waves to the crowd one last time to end the segment. We get a video for tonight's main event. Winner takes all title unification match, WWE Champion Brock Lesnar vs WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns. We go back to the ring and out comes the Bloodline for a big pop. WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns with SmackDown Tag Team Champions the Usos and Paul Heyman. They stop and raise the gold in the air as the pyro goes off. The Bloodline marches to the ring now, but the Usos may have went back to the back. Reigns poses in the ring now as fireworks explode above AT&T Stadium. Reigns takes the mic and calls on WrestleMania to acknowledge him. The music hits next and out comes WWE Champion Brock Lesnar to pyro. We get formal ring introductions from Rome, but Heyman interrupts and does his own grand introduction for Reigns. Lesnar also interrupts and does his own introduction, billing himself as the cowboy ass kicker that is going to kick Reigns' ass tonight. Lesnar finishes his intro and fans pop. He drops the mic. The bell rings and they face off. Lesnar laughs as he immediately removes his gloves. Lesnar unloads but Reigns turns it around. Lesnar turns it around in the corner with big shoulder thrusts. Lesnar lifts and rams Reigns into another corner now. Reigns fights off a German suplex attempt but Lesnar nails a belly-to-belly suplex, and another one. Lesnar is all smiles as he stalks Reigns and hits a third belly-to-belly suplex. Lesnar yells out and scares Heyman. Lesnar sends Reigns over the top rope to the floor. Lesnar approaches Heyman at ringside. Heyman pleads and says he loves Lesnar, begging him to take him back, saying this was all Reigns' idea. Heyman was just suckering Lesnar in as Reigns charges and puts Lesnar through the timekeeper's barrier with a big spear. Reigns returns to the ring as the referee counts and Lesnar slowly gets to his feet. Lesnar leaps back in at the 9 count. Reigns waits in the corner and Lesnar turns around to a big spear. Lesnar kicks out at 2 and Reigns looks a bit surprised. Reigns with a Superman punch to level Lesnar again. Reigns yells out at the crowd to a mixed reaction. Reigns with a second Superman punch as Lesnar gets back to his feet. Reigns continues trash talking, declaring he's the greatest of all time. Lesnar gets up and he's actually laughing. Lesnar sidesteps a Superman punch and tosses Reigns with a big German suplex, then a second German, then a third. Lesnar wastes no time and delivers a fourth German suplex. Lesnar bounces around as fans cheer him on and he nails the fifth straight German suplex. Lesnar scoops Reigns for the F5 but Reigns escapes and nails another Superman punch. Lesnar is down now. Reigns calls for the spear and the crowd yells out with him. Reigns charges but Lesnar sidesteps a spear and hits the F5. Reigns still kicks out at 2 and now Lesnar can't believe it. Lesnar stalks Reigns and grabs him in the middle of the ring. Lesnar goes for another F5 but Reigns rakes his eyes, then shoves him into the corner. Lesnar puts on the brakes so he won't run into the referee. Reigns then spears Lesnar into the corner and he smashes the referee against the turnbuckles. The referee is down now, which allows Reigns to drop Lesnar with a low blow. Heyman hands the title belt to Reigns and he decks Lesnar with it. Referee Chad Patton comes to and counts the pin but Lesnar kicks out. Reigns is shocked again. Reigns is fired up now as he yells about being number 1. Lesnar is still down on the mat, trying to recover from the low blow. Lesnar gets up and is bent over in pain. Reigns runs the ropes, goes past Lesnar twice, and hits a big spear from behind to the kidneys. Reigns runs again and goes for a spear but Lesnar meets him in mid-move and drops him into the Kimura lock as fans go wild. Lesnar tightens the hold and his face turns purple from how hard he's pulling on Reigns' arm. Reigns finally gets his arm on the bottom rope to break the hold. Heyman yells encouragement at his tribal chief. We hear Reigns yelling "It's out" to Heyman, apparently saying his shoulder came out of place from the Kimura lock. Lesnar scoops Reigns for a F5 but Reigns slides out and hits another spear, this time for the pin to win the titles. Winner and new undisputed WWE Universal Champion, Roman Reigns. After the match, the music hits as Reigns stands tall. Heyman brings the gold in the ring as Reigns sells his arm injury. The announcers say Reigns just popped his shoulder back in. Reigns raises the WWE title and the WWE Universal title in the air. Reigns and Heyman then exit the ring as we go to replays of the WrestleMania Sunday main event. The replay shows how Heyman put Reigns' hand on the bottom rope to break the Kimura. We come back from the replays and Reigns has both title belts raised on the ramp. Lesnar is trying to recover in the ring. The pyro explodes inside the stadium, then a large WrestleMania logo and star forms above the stadium with more fireworks going off. Heyman stands by as Reigns looks at the camera and points his finger to show he's number one as Night 2 of WrestleMania 38 goes off the air.